Okay. Okay, I am Stardust the new whatever. Um if you enjoy this video, you know, please leave a like, subscribe, or whatever you want. Also, you might not get post notifications, so if you want to know when my videos come out, you want to be the first comment or the first one to watch the video, you might want to put that on. And with that said, hit that intro.
Wanna ask his bitch ass that, but that nigga dead for real. Been a nigga block the windows down, but I like jumping out. You clap first, I'm still coming, bitch, we just gon' spark it out. Run the opposition down and knock his fucking tonsils out. Lil' bro smooth his ass, that nigga dead, that's what that chopper about. We ain't ducking shit, bitch, what it is, let's bring them choppers out. Pull up to his crib, that's where he live, oh yeah, we popping out. Ain't no questions asked, bitch, I'm a blast, they know I'm rocking out. When this chopper flash, boy, that's your ass, ain't shit to talk about.
Now, Izuku last time had broken all records except for, well, yeah, I'm pretty sure he broke, Ida's record for, speed. And basically it's the next day, and they were told to make hero suits. Excuse me. They were told to make hero suits. And, basically, Izuku wouldn't do how he did, like, before. Instead, he would make, like, an amateur bloodhound suit. Like, it would be mostly made out of, leather. And certain parts of it would be made out of, complicated, like, technology. But other than that, everything is not too high inside of price. So basically, he made the suit inside of this picture without the glowing red eyes. His eyes only grow red whenever he's in Beast of the Hunt. But yeah, so he doesn't have any technology except for, like, maybe a few glowing lights that come out, like, as you can see with the arms. And yeah, other than that, everything's normal. Now, basically, he submits his stuff to the school at about, I'd say about, never mind, I'm just gonna say he goes to school with it inside of a suitcase. Now, as he arrives at school, he sees everybody else. They're all excited. And, they're ready to basically train. Now, as Izuku gets there, he walks in and everybody that likes him or at least, has manners greets him. And he goes ahead and sits down. Now, as he sits down, everybody's shocked because all of a sudden All Might comes in and basically, it's everybody's first time seeing the #1 hero, and especially inside of their, like, in their part of Japan. So basically everybody's freaking out except for Izuku, since he's a lot more calm. And basically, All Might's like, yesterday you were told to make your hero suits. If you didn't have the right materials to make it, then you were told to basically send in the designs that you wanted for the school. And basically he's like, oh, and by the way, Izuku, here's the pieces that you wanted. And basically, they're goggles, but the goggles go over the suit and kind of like clamp onto the parts of the suit. Like, he was very specific on the measurements, so then it would clamp on. But basically, he puts it on, he grabs it and basically says thanks to All Might. As All Might says, okay, everybody go inside the dressing room and put on your hero suit. And basically, as he says that, the girls go into the girls' locker room and the guys go inside the guys' locker room. And as Mineta tries to get in, but he gets punched in the face and then he goes right back to the boys' locker room. Which apparently he's bisexual, so yeah. Okay, so everybody's shocked to see Izuku's, body is extremely ripped. Like, they thought the only reason he was that strong was because of his strength enhancement work, but it increases his strength times about, I'd say it increased by like ×4. So he did have the normal, like, the normal strength of an adult human male, but it was increased by like 4 times. So now at this point, he can basically bend and sometimes break steel. So yeah. Now, anyways, as I was saying, basically everybody has their suits on. They all walk back into class. As they walk into class, they basically see everybody's suit, and they just basically ask Momo, "Isn't that suit a little bit revealing?" As she says, "Well, my quirk, basically, I have I have a creation quirk, and it come everything is created right between my breasts." And as she says that, everybody's like, "Has God blessed us?" As they all say that, out loud, of course, they're all huddling together, not like near the girls, but like huddling together, all talking to each other. And basically the only people that are not talking are Todoroki and Bakugo and Izuku. As basically, All Might basically says, "Okay, everybody, you have everything with your suits and you guys have everything prepared. Then let's go ahead and we're taking a field trip." Now, as he says that, basically he goes ahead and they go outside and get on a bus. And basically they ride down to the training area, which is out of the school, for obvious reasons. Now, as they get there, they basically see a building made out of basically cinder and bricks. As they're kind of like, "Isn't this building kind of outdated?" As All Might basically says, it looks outdated from the outside, but it's actually a lot more advanced from the inside. As they go inside, and basically All Might's like, "Okay, so I'll be pairing two people together as heroes and two people together as villains." And basically the hero's job is to disarm a bomb inside the building, either by stealth or by just breaking through with brute force. And he basically says, "You have a time limit, but the villains can't just detonate it." Sorry about that. My friend called me. As I was saying, he basically says you do have a time limit, and basically the villains have to delay the time so that the bomb can go off, and the heroes have to basically disarm the bomb. So basically, if they do go through with brute force, they can't instantly like set off the bomb. Now, as everybody says this, he pairs everybody together, as he pairs Izuku with Uraraka. And basically he's like, "Okay, so you guys are the heroes team, and Bakugo and Ida." Sorry, I thought I just saw something. Bakugo and Ida are basically the villains. No. Yeah, Bakugo and Ida. Now, basically, Izuku's voice is kind of distorted as he says, "Okay," and basically Uraraka just nods. As they go to their side and the villains go to their side. Now at this point they're all watching Izuku and Uraraka, and Bakugo and Ida basically go up against each other. As All Might says go, Izuku instantly just starts walking like everything's normal, as Uraraka's basically like, "Shouldn't we make a plan?" And he basically says, "I have a plan." What Bakugo's gonna do is, since he's so hot-headed and he wants to prove that he's better than me, he's gonna try and break through all of those walls. By the time he gets here, I'll be ready, and since I have a natural shield over my body, even if he does use the biggest explosion in his caliber, it will only break my shield. it will probably cause some damage, but other than that, I should be fine with the suit that I have on. And he basically says, and basically my plan is if he does, have good combat or, does hit me hard enough, I'll use Beast of the Hunt and take him down. As Uraka basically says, that's a good plan, but where do I come in? And he's basically like, you don't really have to do anything, but if you like to help out, you can in some way. As you know, Uraka's kind of silent as she's like, okay. And basically, as Izuku planned, he can hear explosions and more explosions and more explosions, and basically the wall's breaking. He can basically hear, he can hear Bakugo trying to get to Izuku and Uraka. Now, basically, as Bakugo breaks the wall, he basically says, "I found you," and as he says that, Izuku's like, "No, I found you." And as he says this, Bakugo's kind of confused on what he says. As Bakugo tries to hit Izuku with an explosion, basically sending him back a little bit, but not far enough, And basically, as this explosion hits him, he jumps forward and he grabs Bakugo's arm before he can even fall down to the ground. And basically flips him onto the floor, basically breaking the floor underneath him, trying to knock him out. But it didn't exactly go as planned, I guess you could say. Now, what I mean by that is, as he slammed him to the ground, he basically sees Bakugo charging up his explosion and hits him in the face. And I did not mean to zoom into his face, but he hits him in the face, and basically Izuku goes flying back, as basically All Might's worried, but not even a bit of his armor is damaged. It just kind of annoyed him. It's kind of like if you've ever been under anesthesia, or like if you've ever been numb, you can feel pressure, but it doesn't exactly like hurt. So like, yeah, that's basically like what I mean by that. Now, as I was saying, basically Bakugo hits him in the face as he kind of goes flying back this time, and Bakugo then starts to use hand-to-hand against Izuku, which Izuku is naturally better at hand-to-hand than normal people. But, Bakugo actually boxed, so he's keeping up with Izuku pretty well. Now, as he's basically fighting Izuku, Izuku basically pulls out a knife and kind of slices him a little. As All Might was about to say something about it, but he knows Izuku wouldn't kill Bakugo or cripple him. At least not fully. As he's basically slicing up Bakugo as they're fighting, Bakugo doesn't notice that he's being sliced because of how fast Izuku's moving with the blade. He is naturally faster with the blade, but I'm just saying, he's slicing him. Now, as he's getting sliced more and more, Bakugo then notices a slice on his arm as he looks over his body and he sees about 10 more slashes. As he's starting to feel like he's losing a lot more. Like, he's starting to feel the pain of it now that he actually sees it. And he's noticed how much blood he's actually lost. Not fatally, but to the point like where he's getting worried, but everybody else is like, it's not enough to make him pass out or even die. Now, Bakugo kind of smiles as Izuku gets a face of confusion at this. As basically Bakugo says, "Do you think I wouldn't plan that that I break through those walls and fight you?" He basically says, "I know you're smarter than most people. I know you would have a plan for what I did." He then says, "Do you want to know what my plan is?" As Izuku kind of shrugs and he's like, "It doesn't really matter, you're still gonna lose." And as he says that, you know, Bakugo then grabs the pin onto his suit. As basically All Might says, Bakugo, stop. If you do that, he will die. As he basically says, just like in canon, if he's so good, he'll dodge it. And if he's not, he'll die. Now, as Izuku looks over, he sees that his Evo shield is basically weakened, and this explosion will do a lot of damage to him, but it won't kill or make him pass out. So he kind of tries to redirect the explosion, but he sees like Uraraka right behind him. So instead, he decides to jump up through the roof and basically go to another floor and take the explosion. Now, as he does, it blows away half of the floor on top of them and most of the floor, like, below them. Now, basically, Bakugo is completely fine since the explosion was only aimed at Izuku. And it's basically a controlled one, like, inside of one direction. And basically, Izuku opens up his eyes as he feels burn marks all over his body. Now, as he feels the burn marks, he basically gets angry and he's like, you shouldn't have done that. As he says that, he kind of sees a piece of his suit is torn as he kind of rips it apart. And as he rips it apart, he looks at him and he's like, this is my new suit. I spent a lot of money on this. And basically, as he says that, Bakugo looks back at him and he says, you should have thought about fighting me before you would think about getting your clothes dirty. You need to be worrying about your life more than what condition your clothes are in. Now, as he says this, Izuku looks back at Bakugo, as Bakugo can basically see his eyes from the middle. It looks like he's bleeding from his eyes, but it's not inside of the white parts of his eyes. It's only in his, pupil. As basically it spreads outward slowly. As he basically says, you're fucking dead. And as he says this, Bakugo then senses an amount of bloodlust that he's literally never sensed in his life. Even being inside the sludge moon, he's never sensed this much bloodlust. As basically he looks at Izuku, and basically his pupils are glowing so much that it looks like even the white parts around his eyes are glowing red. As he basically grabs Bakugo and throws him into a wall. And basically, Bakugo spits out a little bit of spit. And before he can even touch the ground, Izuku grabs him again and slams him through the ground, sending him 3 floors under. Now, as this happens, Bakugo then looks up to see Izuku right in front of him with his hand up, as it then goes flying into his ribs. And basically, the power of this punch broke some of the walls on the floor, but it didn't break the actual floor since they were on the lowest floor they could go. And basically at this point, Bakugo spits out blood. As basically, Izuku picks him up, throws him into the air, and then kicks him in the ribcage. As basically everybody on the monitors can even hear Bakugo's bones crack. And basically, he grabs Bakugo out of midair again before he can go flying back and throws him into a wall. And at this point, Bakugo's eyes are behind his head and he's almost passed out. As he then does this, Izuku then says, at this point, you are my prey, and I am the hunter. And as he says this, he punches Bakugo in the face, knocking him out and breaking his jaw. As basically, he walks away and goes back. Well, he jumps back to the floor that Uraraka was on, which was 2 floors above him. As he basically says, okay, let's go and find Ida and disarm that bomb. As Urok is looking at him like he's crazy because not only did he break every bone inside of Bakugo's body, well, most bones inside of Bakugo's body, not every bone, but he also just acted like everything was fine. Most people cannot do that. Most people would still be heated, which means he could have controlled his anger, but he decided to let that out onto Bakugo. And basically, at this point, everybody notices how insanely powerful he actually is. And the fact that he knew how far he could go before Bakugo would die. I don't know why I said Izuku. But he knew how far he could go before Bakugo would die. Now, basically, Ito heard all these explosions, but he's, staying at the he's staying at the bomb to make sure, nobody gets to it. Now, as he hears everything all of a sudden get quiet, all the lights inside of the room just die down. Like, all the power inside the room just goes out. Now, Ida's confused, but Ida stays on guard as he kind of puts his senses up a little bit. He doesn't have a sensory type power or quirk, but he has gotten training from his family. So, basically he does have the ability to basically sense when someone's near or, sense bloodlust from trained heroes. As basically, he doesn't sense any bloodlust inside the room, but he does sense someone. The strange thing, though, is he's everywhere but nowhere. He can hear Izuku's footprints, which Izuku's obviously not hiding. He's making them louder and louder. As he knows Izuku can actually see where he is, since, his power. And basically, he can sense that he knows where he is. He can feel the wave from Izuku passing through his body. So basically, out of nowhere, he then sees a red light. Well, two red lights all of a sudden glow inside the darkness, illuminating the room. And there's nothing but these two glowing red dots as they're circling around him. And basically, neither of them are saying anything because Ida knows that Izuku could take him out at any time, and Izuku knows that he could take Ida out at any time. As Izuku's circling him, Izuku gets behind Ida and basically tries to continue walking. Emphasis on tries, because Ida then uses his quirk to boost backwards and try to kick Izuku in his head, since, he's guessing that Bakugo got defeated, and, at this point he had enough time to regain his shield, which isn't how his shield works, but, he doesn't really know how it works, and he isn't going to take any chances. Now, basically, as, his foot comes down, Izuku grabs his foot and throws him into a wall. As basically, he can see the red eyes glowing redder and redder. As he basically sees the silhouette of Izuku's body. As basically, he sees the neon glowing red around Izuku's arms. As Izuku basically says, this fight was over the moment it began. And as soon as he says that, Ida tries to kick him one last time, but Izuku grabs Ida's leg and basically just slams him onto the ground like Hulk did Loki inside of the Avengers movie. Actually, exactly like Hulk did Loki inside the Avengers movie. And basically, he just throws him into a wall as basically he stops the timer and disarms the bomb, as basically everything's quiet around the room. And basically everybody's in shock to see that not only did Izuku not try, he didn't have any type of killing intent within the air. They sensed when Bakugo was beaten up through the walls, they could sense his killing intent. But when he got to Ida, they noticed that he was able to not only control it, but just not make it. As they're all, completely quiet. As basically, Izuku says, so? And basically, All Might snaps out of it, as he's still kind of in shock, and as he says, heroes win. And as he says that, he then, nobody celebrates like in canon. They're just all quiet inside of shock. As Izuku basically walks back to the room, and, Uraraka was the first one back since, she never really left the room. And she knew that he could handle it by himself, alone. From just what he did to the 0-pointer alone, she knew that Ida stood no chance. As basically, he walks into the room and everybody's staring at him. As he kind of walks back and he kind of sits down. And basically, he sits on the wall and closes his eyes. As basically the red and neon around his body and eyes all of a sudden just die out. And then everything's just normal leather at that point. As, All Might basically snaps out of it completely this time, and he calls everybody else. Everybody else's fights go like canon, and, other than that, that's the end of What If. If you guys enjoyed, you know what to do. Again, you might not get post notifications, or you won't know when I post a video, so it's probably smart to put on post notifications if you are subscribed. If you don't feel like it, I understand. I don't be putting on post notifications unless I really like the YouTuber. And yeah, I'm gonna see you guys later. Peace out.
Power I seek, and if it ain't about the money, then my nigga don't speak. I be in the lab getting immersed in these verses. I'm writing the light brighter than the white in the mime, and I'm working hard like I need an A on assignment. They copy tape like I'm Simon. No walkie-talkie, I'm stat. Hitting it from the back. Walk around with the strap. Concealed cause I can. It's a city law. Hold up, bitch, you can't, man. I pity y'all. How y'all on the streets where these niggas gonna really rob? I up the heat, aim at his meat. Chili dog.